Thanks for tuning in to the Barbara Cox Podcast. Today's question: are you playing that blame game? Are you still playing the blame game? Are you still playing that game? Blaming others for what you have gone through when it was all part of your purpose. It was all part of your assignment. Man, I'm telling you, I finally said, I'm not going to play the blame game. When I was a child, I understood as a child. I spoke as a child. I act as a child. Okay. Now that I'm adult, I have put away those childish ways of thinking, acting, reacting. And I'm not going to blame something that happened in my childhood because I understood then as a child. Now I'm an adult. Why play the blame game? It's time for me to stop looking at stuff that happened and realizing that it was a part of my assignment. It was part of my destiny. It made me who I am today. What happened to me back then made me who I am today. Do I blame the children on the playground? They were just children. They were children just as I was. Because when I was a child, that's when my dreams were crushed as a child that had such an anointing on my life. I would hear songs in my sleep and I would run around singing those songs. And I was told as a child that I could not sing. I was told as a child to shut up. And I would tell that testimony over and over and over again. But you got to understand, I don't blame no one because I was a child. I understood as a child. I acted as a child and I stopped singing. But now that I'm an adult, you can't beat me singing for God. You cannot stop me from singing for God. You cannot stagnate me from singing for God. You cannot stop me from releasing what God has placed into my spirit. You cannot hinder me from releasing the songs that God has placed in my dream. You cannot keep me from recording those songs that penetrate my heart in the deep, deep hours of the night and early in the morning. You can't stop me. You can't block me. You can't hinder me because I'm not a child anymore. And I don't play that blame game no more. If I stop now, I am the only person to blame. Or you still playing that blame game because there's some things that's happening in your life and you're still blaming someone or something instead of realizing that was a part of your assignment. That was a part of your destiny. It made you who you are today. It made you that strong woman. It made you that strong man. It made you have such an anointing because you were crushed. And as you were crushed, the anointing just oozed out of you. As God poured the anointing onto you, it just entered into the cracks, into the areas of your life that were fragile and broken. And then when God put you back together, you were stronger than you were before you were injured, before you were hurt, before you were bruised, before you were crushed. The oil, before the oil was applied. So these things had to happen. Because as the oil was applied, it penetrated into the crevice, into the curves and into the brokenness, into the roughness of those injuries, of those bruises, of those hurts and of the shame and of the pain. And now that you've been placed back together again, now that God has restored you, you are much better. You're better than you were. You're not bitter. You're better. You're better, baby. You're better, honey. You're better, dear, than you were before. This was part of your destiny. So we don't have to play the blame game. If we stop now, we are the ones to be blamed. Don't get weary in doing what God has ordained you to do. Don't faint. and doing what God has you to do. Don't play the blame game now. Because the only person to be blamed would be me if if somebody stops me now. If somebody stops me now that I'm an adult, then I'm the only person to blame. When I was a child, I understood. I didn't have the maturity, the knowledge, the understanding, the capability. But now that I'm an adult, I do not play those blame games. I'm hearing the voice of God. He said, are you still blaming others for something that was a part of your destiny? It made me a strong black woman. It made me a strong mother. It made me a strong widow. It made me a strong singer. Most importantly, it anointed me for the platforms that I go on to. It anointed me for the studios that I enter into. It anoints me for everything that I'm faced against. God anointed me for this job. So I dare blame anyone this season of my life. I don't play the blame game. No more do I blame anyone or anything. If I do not keep moving and operating in the gifts and the talents, stand on the platforms that God has placed me on, I am the one to be blamed. If I allow these voices that I hear, that I know is not of God, to stop me in my tracks, I can't blame nobody but me. So I'm not going to let you talk me out of it this time. You can't talk me out of my blessings this time. You can't talk me out of my purpose this time. You can't talk me out of my assignment this time. You can't talk me out of the platform this time. You can't talk me out of nothing, because it was all a part of my assignment. So today I'm not still playing that blame game. I'm not playing that. If I stop now, if I get weary now, if I give up now, I'm the only one to blame. I'm the only one to blame. God has spoken to me. God has told me what to do. God has poured into me. And now I can't let you stop me. No, I can't let you do that. And if you're somebody listening to this podcast, you cannot let somebody stop you. Because you are no longer a child. You have put aside those childish ways. You are queen of the highest king. You are a king of the most highest. The most highest has anointed you. So go forward and do what God has ordained you to do. Operate in those gifts, those diverse gifts and talents. Because you don't have to blame anybody. But if we stop now, if we give up now, we have our own selves to blame. So thanks for tuning in to the Barbara Cox Podcast. Today's question: or you still playing that blame game? Nah. We're not going to blame no one for our pain or our shame from the past or anything that we're faced with. We're going to trust God. We're going to keep moving. We're going to get up, pick up our bed and walk. We ain't playing no blame game no more. God bless.